Welcome everyone to another Pixelated review. I'm your host, Pixelated Jordan. So I bring you today another fantasy world series, Things. This is called the Weapon Takers Saga by Jamie Edmundson, or Jaime Edmundson. I'm not too sure actually, but we're gonna go with Jamie. But yeah, this is a fantasy series about weapons and taking those weapons and fighting off the demons. I mean, of course, there's more to that than what I'm letting on. But there's only about this is a quadrilogy. I think that's how you say it. It's 4 books or a saga. We're just gonna go with saga. Anyway, the series, it's got 4 books. It's all about these weapons, these powerful weapons made by gods, and they all have their name. Like the first one's called Toric's Dagger, so that would be the first one we will talk about today. And yeah, when it comes down to it, this is just your fantasy story. So yeah, let's get on with that. Yeah. I got nothing else to put on this intro. So without further ado, let's start the review. Book 1. Toric's Dagger. So to say that it didn't start off strong, it didn't start off strong. Yeah, so in this, it's talking about this whole Toric's Dagger and how it's just a religion. They thought it was just another religious relic, and then it was stolen, and then this team of just motley crew of people, you know, you got Soren, the wizard, and he does things. He's got a sister. The thing that's kind of cool about them, they can read their minds, or they can read each other's mind. I think her name is Belwyn. Belwyn, and they can read each other's thoughts, or just telepathically, you know, just communicate with each other, which is pretty cool, I gotta admit. But beyond that, the story I just found a little like, they're like, okay, weapon got taken away. Your job is gonna take them. These motley crew of people, other than the nation who was in charge of it, which was kind of odd. Anyway, there's also magic. Yeah, I just want to point that out there. There is magic. How does magic work? I don't know. I cannot tell you. It just works, I guess. This is the best way I can tell you. It just works. So, with that being said, there is a couple of things I could say I liked about it. Some character dialogue is pretty great. I love how some characters do pop off one another, especially, you know, the twins of Bilwyn and Soren. They really came off really good. And then once we get to later in the story, we kind of get more inventive with the characters, which is kind of really cool. Like, I like some creatures of the land. There's like these rock people, I guess you could say. They're just the stone-like people who have these hardened chests and stuff like that, which is really cool. I actually like them a lot. One of them, he's the main guy who follows us a lot, and he's I like the voice the narrator gives him. And but yeah, and then there's like other little things, like especially at the end where they go to a place where they need where they need to go for the Toric's Dagger, and we're not needed, or what was it? I can't remember on top of my head. Point is, though, the race at the end was really cool, and that's the thing I gotta give this credit for. A lot of these different creatures of the land, they exist, and it's cool. It's not just you got elves, dwarfs, and stuff like that. No, you got a whole multitude of different kind of creatures. So I do like that a lot, and that's one of the most creative thing I guess I can give to the first book of the Weapon Takers Saga. Beyond that, can't say much. Yeah, so with that being said, let's just give this a review. 4. Toric's Dagger. It gets a rating of forgettable. Book 2. Bolivar's Sword. So I have to admit, Bolivar's Sword has to be the best one so far. It really upped the ante, you know, with the side of the war, which I still kind of don't care about. But it was really good, though. It was like Bolivar's Sword's journey for this character named Rabagar. He's the rock people called the Clickers. And I love kind of their tribal nature and stuff like that. And I love the kind of past that Rabagar had. Rabagar was just getting this killer character development, and I absolutely was there for it. Rabagar is awesome. Absolutely love that character. And the Clicker Society is actually something I was very expanded upon, and I really like that a lot. So, at the end of the first book, a lot of people did get separated. Like the main character Soren got stowed away, basically got tortured after that, and he does make a return in this one, but he's blind now, which sad for him. During that torturement, his sister saved him though. His sister did play a role in trying to infiltrate this tower of the bad guys, but that wasn't as far as interesting. The group that did get captured, they were in this kind of like, I guess you could say they're just trying to get a bunch of rocks. That was their goal for their prison stuff. And they had like a bunch of different races in there too. I got dog people, dog men, what's it called, bear men. They got a bunch of different like creatures in there, which is something I actually do appreciate a lot more. But the big takeaway, other than Rabagar and the Clicker Society, it had to be the Drobacks. The Drobacks were it's the goblin equivalent of Lord of the Rings, I guess you could say. Those guys were actually threatened. They actually had a very great entrance. Absolutely killed it with that. So, as far as the rest of it, I love the character development of Rabagar. I love the creatures of the land, especially the Drobacks. But beyond that, I still find myself lacking in these human characters and just overall just the main plot of taking all these swords, because these weapons were designed to be powerful and kill, the most powerful demon enemies, stuff like that. And I get it, but at the same time, I'm kind of not into the war yet. So hopefully in the third book, things can change. Let's give this a rating. For Bolivar Sword, it gets a rating of meh. Book 3, Jarlax's Bow. So Jarlax's Bow is really boring. And even though there's actually some really great moments, especially with Rabagar and his fights, because those clickers, man, they know how to fight, and it's pretty good. So that whole part right there, I really love. Rabagar goes through a lot of stuff. Like, man, that poor guy. But the race of the rock people are just crazy good, and I really like them a lot. But getting the Jarlax's Bow was interesting. Like, the idea is there, but I just found it lacking in its sort of there was a way to get it. They kind of cheated their way technically, but that was about it. I really didn't care too much about it, to be completely honest. And one of the big things too was the war. They did have some pretty cool fight scenes at the end. The build-up was pretty good. But sometimes in these fights, like, it's happened more than once, like throughout the series, where there's a group of enemies and dude, our heroes stand against them, and then they win. There's no like epic fight scenes or stuff like that. They just cut to go, okay, and they won, which kind of sucks. Like, there's a lot of that in this book right here, which kind of sucks. I do like the difference with Jarlax's Bow and how it needs to be created, which is that unlike the other ones where you go, oh yeah, these people have it. These people do have it, but the way the Jarlax's Bow work, you have to create it and stuff like that. I did like the fight, how they used it, especially at one guy they were fighting, how he just couldn't die. That was actually surprisingly good. But beyond that, the war still kind of exists, and though that's about it. But like I said, the Rabagar was good. All the new races that came out for creatures and all that stuff were really good. And yeah, just this one was overall boring and uninteresting at the end. So that's all I can say about this one. So for Jarlax's Bow, it gets a rating of forgettable. Book 4, The Giant Spear. So this one has to be, if I had to really say it, was the best one. Like, this one ended with just a really good, end. Not like an end for a character, but it does end. The Giant's Spear was actually like a really good journey. Talking about these giants, Rabagar went on this journey, and the emotion between the giant himself and Rabagar was a really good emotional moment for both characters. The giant he stood out amongst the rest. I really enjoyed his character. And then Rabagar, to him and all the things he lost and how he kept fighting, it was a really touching story. Now, when it comes to the rest of the story, they did really try to get me to care. It actually did. They did a lot more things in this one to make me go, okay, I can understand a little bit better now. Now, the magic system I still don't understand, but I just know exists. Anyway, the end actually caught me completely off guard. It makes sense of what was to come when you look at it at the grand scheme of things, and how all the characters, literally all the characters in the end, minus Rabagar, perished. But they perished in this kind of like almost heroic death in a sense to save the world. Or to save the world, or like to stop its, what is it called? A repeating cycle, I guess you could say. And it does really a good job with that. And so I have to say, this one really actually built up everything that was before to become something greater. And I truly appreciate that when a book really does that. And this right here, straight up just nailed it, without a doubt. So, with that being said, I'm giving The Giant Spear a rating of, check it out, overall. Overall, I have a lot of mixed feelings about Toric's Dagger. It reminds me of a lot of The Legend of Gallia. If you guys remember that one, that was like one of my earlier ones. But it's an indie book that has good ideas, but fails on, the presentation side of things. One thing I could definitely say I loved absolutely was the creature designs, or any creatures just in general. The fact that they weren't just dwarves, they weren't just goblins, they weren't just, just the standard thing you see in fantasy. The Weapon Takers Saga really is unique. Like I said, drawbacks were actually threatening, and I actually liked them for the equivalent of a goblin. This gave the Weapon Takers Saga a new face, and one of my favorite race in it was definitely, they got the most development, was the Clickers, the Rock People, and Rabagar. Rabagar was straight up great. I absolutely loved his character. And then the giant at the end, like, he was only one book, but he embodied so much of, Rabagar's journey, and then what it ended up coming to in the end for him. It was so sad for the giant, and I really do like that. And Rabagar, how he just kept fighting to the end, and he lost so much, but he's the only one of the original cast to live in the end. And I find that really touching. Now, from what I did look up, there is a sequel series to this. Will I check it? Probably not. I don't know if I will. Usually when I read an author story, I usually try to go somewhere else, Like, I don't want to be stuck to one. As much as I may enjoy, like, some other ones, I rather go try to explore more as much as I can. Anyway, this one right here, though, really was a great... I want to say great. I think I'm blowing that off a little too much, but a good story, I guess you could say. There is so much good to have here, but there's also so much to take away, and it's like I said, just like a lot like Legend of Gallia, which is the only thing that does suck about it. It reminds me of so much of Legend of Gallia, but yet it takes some stride to being so much different from it, even from the standard fantasy. So it's hard for me to say. It's hard for me to say, like, is this the greatest indie fantasy? Actually, no, I can say that's Levy. Levy takes that by a long shot. Point is, though, this is a fantasy story, an indie fantasy story. And honestly, if you're looking for something short to get into, something with a weird imagination of weird creatures, you know what? This isn't a bad choice. I can tell you that right now. This is not a bad choice. And I think, if anything else, Rabagar is going to make sure that you stick along, because that character is the best. So, I guess, yeah, it's time to give this series a full rating. So, with the Weapon Takers Saga, it gets a series rating of... meh. Hi, I want to thank you guys all for watching. I really do appreciate it. And if you want to watch more of these videos, I have plenty more below. And also, I will link all these 4 books below as well. Also, did you know that I too am an author? That's right, if you're looking for something more paranormal in the young adult genre, I have you covered. I will have that linked down below as well. And as always, I hope you all have a great day.